Please bear in mind, what we're actually showing you now is a demonstration. This is technically how you shouldn't drive off-road. As you can see, he's lining it up totally wrong, because you can see from the ground here, it's an axle twister. You've only got to look at the holes. How were they caused? Now, watch this. He comes into it, he applies a bit of revs, and it drives. Now watch this, look. Bit of revs, up it goes, look at that. Even with that wheel off the floor, that car drives through there, not a problem at all. And he was controlling that by the accelerator. If you sit there on tick over, doesn't quite work. You just have to apply the revs, and you apply the revs gently. And you saw how dramatic that is. It can be very unnerving sometimes. Now see, look, even there where Ray had a problem, he just had to apply the accelerator and off it went. Because what you've got to bear in mind, that these cars have actually got anti-roll bars on. They stiffen up the ride on the road. They actually reduce that body roll. You can go around corners faster. But because of that, they also lessen the travel off-road. But the traction control compensates it for it. It can be a problem though, because it puts the inexperienced driver in situations where they shouldn't be. Obviously with these cars now, you may be looking at the front of it and you may be picking up the bits of mud that are spattered on the front and the sills. Watch the back end, look as it goes down there, look, so close to hitting the back. If that had a tow bar on it, that would have hit that back of that car. And actually, I would prefer a tow bar on a car like this, because the tow bar is going to take the impact before the bodywork does. It's a lot cheaper way of doing it. Okay, so far we've covered leaf and coil. How about the new Freelander? How about torsion bar suspension with no low gearbox? Let's see how that copes with this terrain. Now this is an ex-Camel Trophy Freelander. Although it's got a fancy paint job and lots of bits and bobs on it, the transmission is still the same as your family Freelander that you would drive at home. Now, as you can see, he's actually taken slightly now. Listen to this, look at it. Listen to all that noise. Look at the speed he's having to go around here to get around this course. But he's still doing it. But it's a lot more violent. Look at that, look, wheels off the floor, body crashing down. If that was your pride and joy, you would have stopped just here, because you would have heard that first crash and thought, oh my God, the old man would now be shouting at you, the kids would be screaming, and you'd be petrified that you'd damaged your pride and joy. But it just proves that this car does it. A lot of people don't think it can. But look how it's going around this course. There, it's all protected though. It sounds horrible. And that's one of the things when you're off-road driving, you've got to train yourself. Some of the noises, because they vibrate through the chassis, sound terrible. But 9 times out of 10, the Land Rover mechanics and everything, the designers have actually took everything up out of the way, and it's all superficial bangs. So, how about that? That shows you how suspension works. Ground familiarisation skills. What does it mean? It's the driver's ability to look at the terrain in front of him, to set up the car, whether it be the gear, the speed, or the angle of approach. Let's have a look at the ground clearances of the four-wheel drives. The first one that we've got coming through is Ray in the Series 2. The lowest point of the car is the differential. As you can see, look how close it's getting, but also his springs are actually getting fairly close to the ground as well. Now the main point of that is that if the differential actually caught on the ground, or the ruts were too deep, it would lift the front of the car off the floor. He would lose traction. See, look, the 110, same size wheels, same sort of distance. Now, look at the Discovery coming through. It's a lot lower. Look how it's struggling. Look at the front spoiler. Look how it's designed. It's dug away to take a little bit. That's actually quite close again. You could damage the front of your car if you got that wrong. Now, let's have a look at the Freelander, the lowest of them all, plus torsion bar suspension. Still copes admirably with the terrain down there, but look how close it is. The skid guard all the way through. That's an aftermarket add-on, by the way. If you actually look back at the terrain now, you can make out the marks in the ground. Okay, that's one clearance, that's ground clearance. Now let's go and have a look at the other three: approach, ramp breakover and departure angle. Okay, we've just showed you one type of ground clearance. We're going to show you another one now. It's called the ramp breakover angle, and it's the car's ability to come up and go over a hill without hitting the chassis or the side of the car on the ground. So you can see now Ed's feeding the car in very, very carefully, watching out for other angles that we're going to come to in a moment. As he feeds it over, look how close the car starts to get. And look at that. As you can see now, the chassis is actually just touching the ground. The side seals of the car are touching the ground. Any more extreme, we could do serious damage to the car. But also as well, if you came over there a little bit too fast, as the car actually crests and goes over to the side, the engine can compress the suspension, swab the tyres, lessening that ground clearance and really smashing up onto that sill. Okay, Ed, if you'd like to take it off the hill. So that's it. That's the ramp breakover angle. Be very, very careful of that. Sometimes it's the little innocuous looking hills that can actually just get you sitting onto the ground or four wheels spinning and you're stuck. Now we're going to move over to approach and departure angles and see how relevant they are in off-road driving skills. Another two challenges for you and your vehicle. The approach and the departure angle. What are they? Where are they taken from? The approach angle is taken from the bottom of the wheel to the lowest protruding point at the front of the car. It's the car's ability to go in and up a hill without impacting that low point. It can be very, very expensive. Let's just see it in action. Okay, Ray? You can see he's going into it very slowly. Look at the car, just clearing. And he stops. Just remember, this is a set situation. Accelerating into that a little bit faster could have your suspension compressing and altering those angles and clearances. Now I mentioned another angle, the departure angle. What's that one? Same again, it's taken from the back of the wheel at the bottom to the lowest overhanging point at the rear of the vehicle. As you can see from this, it could be a very, very expensive mistake to make. The whole back of the car could be crumpled up. A very big dent in your credit card and your wallet. Now we're going to show you another demonstration using a different vehicle with different approach and departure angles. Here we are again with a different vehicle, a 110 Defender. As you can see, if you excluded the roller fair lead on the front, this has got one hell of an approach angle, which means it can actually go up steeper hills. Let's just see that in action. Okay, Amanda, if you could show us, please. You can see, look, inches of room on the front there. What was that noise? What was that extra resistance? The departure angle has been fouled by the overhanging tow bar. The one good thing, though, about having a tow bar on the car is it actually protects the panel work. As you can see here, the rear bodywork of the Defender is actually well off the ground. The tow bar has taken all of the impact. So it may be something worthwhile remembering. Put something on the car to protect those vulnerable points. Now we're going to show you a few more skills associated with off-road driving. We've just demonstrated to you the approach and departure angles when the vehicle is climbing a hill. A common misconception is that is the only time that those vehicles will contact the ground. We're going to demonstrate to you now that when a vehicle comes down and exits a hill, you've got to make sure that the angles of approach and departure are still there. I'm going to get Amanda to demonstrate to you now using the Land Rover 110. Okay, Amanda. Now, Amanda's engaged first gear, which you should always do on dry, steep hills. And she's going to use the engine's braking coming down the hill. If you accelerate down the hill, you've got more chance of actually compressing the front suspension at this point and lowering the approach angle. But now listen and look at the back of the car. You can even see the tow bar moving with the weight of the vehicle going through it. But now Ray's coming down with the Discovery. More overhangs, less approach and departure angles on this Discovery. Now look at this, as you can see, any faster and that suspension would compress just there. It just kisses the exhaust pipe on the back of the car. Now we're showing you this now in perfect conditions. Please remember that with the family on board and loaded for an expedition, or actually coming down those hills faster and exiting away faster, the whole suspension can alter, altering those angles and decreasing them.